and welcome to Market Insights. I am Lavina Emma. Today, we'll be discussing the recent actions by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission targeting cryptocurrency platforms and their impact on the price of the dollar. Now, recently, it was in the news that the EFCC is reportedly cracking down on cryptocurrency platforms and currency speculators believed to be manipulating the Nigerian naira. So this move comes amid slight increase in the dollar's value against the naira. Now, economists and analysts suggest that while the dollar is rising partly due to interbank activity by some commercial banks, some also speculate that cryptocurrency speculation might be contributing to the naira's depreciation. So the EFCC's aim is to curb this speculation and stabilize the foreign exchange markets. However, it's also important to note that the relationship between the cryptocurrency and the forex markets is complex, and the effectiveness of this crackdown remains to be seen. So today, to discuss these issues with me is Oluwakemi Adeyemo. She's an author and a co-director of lecture planning departments at Alpha Training Lab, and she's joining us virtually this morning. So welcome to Market Insights, Oluwakemi.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Good morning to you. And how are you doing this beautiful morning?
Very well, thank you. You're looking pretty.
So I mentioned that recently the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission was taking a... Okay, and you look great yourself, Oluwakemi. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so now let's talk about the activities of cryptocurrency speculators when it comes to our foreign exchange currencies, the rates. Now, recently, we've seen how the naira is faring against all other foreign currencies like the dollar, the euro, and also the pound sterling. And compared to what we're experiencing in January and February, it's not as high as those last 2 months. So recently, the activities of these cryptocurrency speculators and other currency speculators has come under the curious eye of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. So they believe that people who operate these digital currency platforms are influencing the price of the naira against the dollar, particularly favoring the foreign currencies. So do you really agree with this move by EFCC witch hunting cryptocurrency users, or let me say speculators of cryptocurrency?
Well, thank you. If memory serves me right, I think some 2 to 3 years ago, it was the issue of AbokiFX. AbokiFX is a platform that pulled figures of currencies from different platforms, aggregates it, and informs the public of what is going on with currency pair rates, right? And the expectation at the time was that once there's no AbokiFX, we will be able to stabilize the dollar. But of course, we all know what happened after that time, right? So I see the current move by the EFCC similar to what happened then with AbokiFX. So you can't really stop people from speculating, yeah? Now, bringing it to cryptocurrency and cracking down on exchanges, initially was Binance. I don't know what other exchange is, being asked not to operate at the moment, but because Binance happens to be the biggest exchange where P2P transactions take place, right? So cracking down on exchanges can only work for maybe a few weeks, where people are not just able to know what the aggregated rates are. It really does not serve us on the long run, if I would be frank, and to the best of my understanding of how economic work, right? It's not going to serve us so much of a purpose. It's not going to serve us at all, right? What it only does is that people are no longer able to say what rates can be or what rates are just for a short period of time. And we have a population of young people who are smart, who are intelligent. They'll always find a way around getting necessary information, if you ask me. So maybe in the interim, something may work, but on the long run, I don't see that taking us any further.
Okay, but don't you think that, yes, you said in the long run it won't take us quite far, but don't you think to curb any kind of illegitimate activities, yes, you said we can't control speculation, but to actually curb people who might say, okay, I bought this quantity of dollars, I could probably influence the price going forward, even though the CBN's policies are aiming to bring down the price of foreign exchange. But don't you think some people know that it will benefit them if they can influence the price of foreign currency when paired against the naira?
Okay, so if you understand how cryptocurrency works, so cryptocurrency is is merging accounting and currency and putting it on a technology, which is the blockchain technology, right? So if we really get to understand how it works, we would understand also to a large extent that if you pair, for instance, a Bitcoin and Naira, I don't see how that is the one determining the dollar rate that we transact with in the physical, or that the banks exchange for people who probably want to pay school fee abroad, or who want to fill the Form A, the Form M, and all those forms to import items into the country, right? So what I also think that we should focus on is to look at how our existing systems can serve us better, right? So if someone has stash of dollars somewhere and can determine the market, how does the person get that amount of dollar that is big enough to shake the market? What I think we should look at is how did that person, whoever the person is or whatever entity, how did they come about that amount of money stashed, that's amount, yeah, I think amount is the right word, that amount of money that can move the market. Is it that we don't know how much we need in dollar for dollar transactions? Is it that we don't know how many people are actually transacting dollar and they really need this dollar for very legitimate use, right? So I think we should look inward instead, answer these questions, and then we'll walk down to the solution. That is it cracking down on exchanges that will solve the problem, or is it harnessing what we already have?
Okay, that's a good question. Yes, okay. So, yes, okay, but like I mentioned earlier on, you know how these currency speculators are the ones that have pretty much in the past influenced the price of our foreign currency. And going by the activities of what happened in Binance, it's not too far apart for these people, for other digital currencies to also face some kind of scrutiny. But going past that now, we know that there are legitimate cryptocurrency dealers out there who are doing their businesses legitimately. So now, do you think EFCC's crackdown will impact on these legitimate cryptocurrency businesses?
Okay, so I'm honestly struggling to admit that there is an illegitimate cryptocurrency business.
Newly focused on this digital investment and actually doing this business, transacting online, buying their coins, sharing, and also doing, as we know, the reason why Bitcoin is under so much scrutiny is when its value, like, you know, paired against the dollar, it's quite high paired against the, and it's also yielding a lot of profits for people investing in it. So now, this impact of what the EFCC is doing in Nigeria, for example, now coming to Nigeria, EFCC is, it was reported in the news a few days ago that they will be looking at cryptocurrency users and how their impact is going to be on speculation, how it's affecting our foreign currency. But I said, do you think it will also affect people who are legitimately using this cryptocurrency business, legitimately transacting online? Do you think this scrutiny from EFCC would also impact on them by saying, okay, let's take a pause for now, let's wait for EFCC to do whatever they are doing, and then we can come back to our business? Or they might be completely unbothered and just face their businesses, their digital currency investments straight up. They might not really influence, or they might not even be bothered by anything the EFCC is doing. In Nigeria, I'm focusing on Nigeria.
Okay, so thank you. So in Nigeria, almost every exchange, right, before you can be onboarded as a Nigerian, you submit your KYC, right? So which is why I struggle with the word illegitimacy, because you're submitting your KYC. Sometimes some people even go as far as asking you to submit your BVN. Yeah, so there's nobody that is transacting on any exchange that their detail is not confirmed, right? Of course, maybe there's some bit of security around that. So I see more people use these cryptocurrencies for legitimate things, if you ask me, because if I plan to use it for something illegitimate, why would I give up my KYC, for instance? Why would I submit my account statement? Why will I submit which proves my address anyway? Why will I do that? Why will I even submit my passport? Why will I record my face, right? So I'm struggling to really see options for illegitimate use of cryptocurrencies. People use it for remittances, use it to send money to their friends. There are games that are backed up by tokens that if you play those games and you score some high points, you get some reward. There's meme coin. People just, young people just come together and they have this fantastic idea and they feel, okay, let's put it on a blockchain technology and so on and so forth. So I really honestly struggle to see the illegitimacy part. So I don't think that will hinder people from carrying on whatever it is that they have been doing with cryptocurrency paired with maybe the Naira or other currencies. I don't think there's any cause for alarm because KYCs are submitted, investigations can be done. If maybe EFCC sees that there's unusual flow of currency, of course, I believe there's a process for that, for that, if that should be the case, right? So I don't think that hinders any legitimate business to go on.
Okay, well said, actually. Yes, we totally understand you. It doesn't hinder them. And there are people who are genuinely doing their cryptocurrency businesses and investing in other digital coins without they're not doing anything trying to cause havoc in the financial system or trying to promote the spread of any fraudulent behavior or any fraudulent money transaction. Okay, now the long-term implications of this, still going further on this, the long-term implications for digital currency in Nigeria, considering the role cryptocurrency is playing in this area, in spite of all these regulations from our financial securities in this country to see how they could regulate cryptocurrency, we still have a lot of people still investing in it. As you know, it's actually more of a digital currency that people invest in for savings and investment, but we can't really buy things with it or exchange physical goods with it. But in Western countries, yes, it's actually obtainable, even though the digital currency is not something you could physically hold. So the long-term implications for this, considering the role that cryptocurrency plays in this area, do you think in the long term is going to hinder people investing in the digital currency, or more people will continue to invest in it?
Well, great question. So I'll keep referring to the fact that Nigeria has our highest demography consists of young people, young people that were born with this technology just on their palms, yeah? So except if we want to stifle creativity, productivity, and all that, which I don't think that is what we want to do as a country, right? So it doesn't stop. People will keep thinking, people will keep innovating, people will keep expressing their talents and gifts using technology because it's way cheaper, I believe. Yeah. So people would just come up with something. So I explained earlier that there are games that are backed with maybe meme coins. So for instance, I don't know how you're familiar with some of these coins. At some point it was Shiba, right? Shiba was popular and it's just a meme coin, the image of a dog. Then we went to Dodge and there's a whole gamut of those types of things, yeah? So people will keep expressing themselves. And this is why, as a country, we now need to take ownership of what we have and what we know so that we encourage people towards the angle of being educated or getting educated with all these things. So the technology itself is not terrible. The technology itself is not bad. And we keep, for some reason, we take our focus away from the fact that this is a technology that can be deployed for 1,000,001 reasons, that can be deployed to solve a lot of problems, right? So if we can try to shift our focus back to the fact that it is a technology that can be deployed to solve a lot of problems simply and easily, I think on the long run, we're in for something fantastic. Yeah, so it doesn't stop anybody. It's not going to stop. I don't think it's going to stop, except if, well, maybe the internet ceases to exist.
Okay, well said. So I would say that a lot of education is needed for also these regulators in our financial industry, both for the EFCC and other regulators in the financial securities in Nigeria. They need to be educated on the advantages of cryptocurrency, on the advantages of other digital currencies that we are currently in use, and the ones that will also be used going forward in the future.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. So regulators are meant to know and lead, right? But because you really cannot stop people from inventing or being innovative or creative, so sometimes citizens are the ones leading. So when citizens lead, I think regulators can also, swing in to say, okay, we know these things. We know these things can work this way. So let us create a framework around it such that, to a large extent, everybody is safe. To a large extent, our economy is safe. To a large extent, our currency is appreciating and people want to come into the country to do business with us. That's what I think regulators should do.
Okay, but yes, I like that. Getting a framework ready for both parties to understand, both our investors and also our regulators, the government regulators too. So that being said, is there a way to strike a balance between cryptocurrency to prevent manipulation and fostering innovation in the Nigerian financial sector? So I would suggest perhaps a partnership between our government regulatory bodies and also those who are invested in cryptocurrency. Or what do you think of this?
No, absolutely. And I am certain that there has been a lot of roundtable discussions, I think from way back 2017, 2018, if memory serves me right. So there was one in Abuja, I think, where different stakeholders gathered. And another example is 2018 or early 2019, the renminbi. Renminbi is a currency used in China, I think, and a lot of manufacturers buy things, a lot of Nigerian manufacturers buy things from China. So there was a roundtable conversation on how we can reduce the dependence on dollar for import of all these very important machineries and equipment, yeah? So these are conversations that have been going on. What we now need to do is to create a balance with implementation, removing as much bottlenecks as possible, educating people, and of course, the government creating a structure that can be trusted, structures backed by policies that can stand, not policies that someone, just wakes up and decides to change, shift things here and there, and maybe what you've been working around or working on for some 4 or 5 years, and one policy just erases everything and all that. So we now need to sit down again to continue those conversations and come to conclusions as much as possible on frameworks that can work. Of course, no country would want her currency to be messed up. No country will want that type of exposure for the economy, right? And again, no country will want to stifle innovation, advancement, especially when it comes to do with technology. So we can create a balance. We can continue those conversations. We can review what has been discussed, continue those conversations, break it down, educate the populace, call for more ideas, fine-tune all these things, write policies around them, and we begin to implement those policies.
Okay. Yeah, you're totally correct. Yes, implement these policies and bring up, I would say, more flexible policies that, you know, in the long term, nothing is cast in stone. You can always change it going forward. The more there are new innovations created, you can always change whatever policies that you had maybe 2 or 3 years ago. So do you also think that this crackdown will drive the activities of cryptocurrency underground, or more like we should not target young people specifically, because we know, like you rightfully said, it's mostly young people that are into this digital currency. Yes, you could find people who are much older participating in it, but majority of people who are into these digital currencies are always young people. So do you really think it's an attempt to, because maybe they might not understand the activities due to lack of proper education of what is involved in this digital currency, they might go underground and start perpetrating these activities underground, and then let me not predict, but it might lead to harsher regulations in the event that this happens. So do you really think that it's better if they just stay, okay, let's work together, let's not stifle these people that do these things? Just to round up this first half of the segment, what are your thoughts on this, Oluwakemi?
Thank you. So again, I would say it serves us better and serves us more when we collaborate and not just shut down these things. Another question is, can it really be shut down? I don't think so, right? So it really cannot shut down. And like I mentioned earlier, except if you can shut down the internet completely all over the world, yeah? So there would still be some activities here and there. So instead of making people work on these things out of, say, vendetta or something, let's all come to a roundtable discussion, yeah? Encourage these things. Encourage it within a safe framework. Safe framework for them and safe framework for the country itself, safe framework for our currencies. Some weeks ago, it was Binance, you know, they delisted the trading pairs, BTC and NGN. Did it really stop so much? Here we are today, you know. So instead of saying, oh, let's take this thing out, let's take these people out, let's drive them underneath, again, it's better we have conversations around it. It's better we weigh the options and have a framework around it so that people can be encouraged to deploy these things for more solutions away from currencies.
We're going to delve further into Bitcoins now. And another thing that we really need to focus on is how Bitcoins work and something called Bitcoin halving. So now Bitcoin halving is an upcoming event that takes place like April this year. And because of this, Bitcoin's price has already surged this year. The halving could propel it even further. Now, let's talk about how this works. So beyond the impact, beyond the impact of Bitcoin itself, Bitcoin halving is a programmed event that cuts the reward for mining new Bitcoins in half. Now, this happens roughly every 4 years, and the next one is estimated to happen around April this year. So the halving essentially reduces the supply of Bitcoin entering the market, which according to basic economic principles could drive the price if demand stays the same or increase it. Now, the potential impact of this is that Bitcoin halving would have followed a significant price increase, because when people see that they can divide their Bitcoins, they'll be motivated to buy more of it, and therefore the price of these Bitcoins will also increase. So there's a chance that this upcoming halving could act as a major catalyst, pushing Bitcoin's price even higher. But the halving's influence might extend beyond this. Now, the ripple effect of this is that the excitement surrounding Bitcoin's halving could spill over to other cryptocurrencies. And investors who are actually bullish in nature might actually look into investing in other digital assets, potentially leading to a broader crypto market rally. So additionally, companies who are associated with the crypto space, such as those involved in mining or the blockchain technology, could also benefit from this positive sentiment. Bitcoin halving is a significant event with the potential to shape the future of cryptocurrency. While Bitcoin itself is likely to be in the spotlight, investors should also consider the potential ripple effects on the broader markets. So I'm going to be discussing what Bitcoin halving is with my guest, Oluwakemi Adeyemo, and she'll shed more light on the effects and the benefits of this new trend called Bitcoin halving. So we're glad to have you for part 2 of the program to discuss Bitcoin halving.
Thank you, Lovina.
For our viewers, for the purpose of enlightening our viewers, what is Bitcoin halving? I want to hear from the experts.
Thank you. So Bitcoin halving, for instance, take an orange fruit, right? For you to get to have an orange fruit in your hand, there was a process. So there was perhaps a seed, someone planted the seed, someone nurtured it, cleared the ground, put mesh around it, added fertilizers, insecticide. It grew up to a tree, and someone kept nurturing it, or maybe a group of people kept nurturing it till it became a full-blown tree and it began to fruit. Someone also perhaps took the pain to harvest it and, begin to distribute that, okay, we now have oranges. Now, you have a fruit of orange in your hand. So halving is you took the ripe orange or a good orange fruit and you cut into two, either to give to people or, most times to share to people, to suck on it and all that. So Bitcoin halving is people are solving complex mathematical problems, right? Using their time, their energy, their brain, their creativity, technology, power, and a lot of other resources. So when a complex block of that algorithm is solved, the reward they get for it is Bitcoin. So as going back to the analogy of an orange fruit, so if you take an orange and you cut it into half, you no longer have a whole orange, you have half. Now, if you take half of it again and you cut it into half again, into equal half, you no longer have half, right? You now have 3/4. So if you continue like that, what you have reduces. So this halving means that the reward that these miners are getting are reducing with time till the last block of complex mathematical problems are solved. Right? So they can choose to hold their reward. They can choose to exchange it for cash in countries that have adopted crypto. They can choose to use their reward to buy stuffs. They can also choose to convert it into cash, and they can choose to keep it.
So now, how can investors position themselves to capitalize on the potential opportunities arising from Bitcoin halving, considering the inherent volatility of the cryptocurrency markets?
So first of all, investors need to be educated about this technology itself, right? So once you're educated and you see how this technology benefits you or benefits something you're already doing, or you could even deploy it to solve a problem, it makes the conversation, or it makes investing in it easy, the decision to invest easy for them, right? So if, for instance, you have a solution and you want to deploy on a blockchain technology, for instance, if you choose to back it up with, say, a Bitcoin, for instance, that means that somehow you're creating demand for it and you're looking for supply. So business happens basically when you're able to supply a solution or a product that is in high demand, right? So as more and more education around the blockchain, cryptocurrency happens, and as adoption increases, there is that potential need for people to want these currencies in different forms, right? Or the various types that they exist, the most popular being Bitcoin, right? So the halving is a situation that leads to decreased amount of Bitcoin in circulation. And that is why we have that surge that we keep having, right? So that's, I mean, surge in price. So as the amount that is in circulation keeps decreasing, the little that is left that is circulating, in as much as the demand is increasing, the price for the little that is circulating continues to go. So if the demand also drops for whatever reason, that means price will also drop. So which is why investors need to really understand how this thing works and to know when to key in and also to assess their risk. Assess their risk, know when to come in, know what you're coming in for, and know when to come out.
Okay, that's very true. Yes, investors need to assess their risk. So, okay, that being said, are there any potential risks or downsides to consider while regarding the halving effect on the cryptocurrency market?
Yes, as with every investment has its own risk. So if I choose to keep my half of my orange and not share with anybody, nobody gets to be part of that juice. And if your business is, or whatever investment it is that you're getting into is solely backed by maybe Bitcoin, for instance, if I choose to keep my portion, all right, to myself, your business may be at some risk. You probably need to create maybe another currency, which is why we have currencies being created like every now and then, right? So of course, the meme coins are more common. Like it doesn't take so much to manufacture a meme coin, but the ones that really have maybe a real life case or real life use, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and a host of others. So if miners choose to keep their half till only God knows when and not to allow it to circulate, then it gives room for other currencies to come on board. But of course, it will take a while because something you probably had started using a Bitcoin, for instance, it might take some overhaul, right? Which means you would require some resources to change that programming, right? Or to develop another currency or to even adopt another one that will work for whatever solution or whatever investment that you have ongoing that was initially sitting on a Bitcoin technology, for instance. So bottom line really is that investors just need to be adequately educated and know what they're getting into, be able to hedge their risk and to play scenarios even before they adopt any of these options as investment.
Okay. Okay, yes, thank you for that, Oluwakemi. Yes, okay, you also mentioned that due to the fact that there's a decrease in the amount of cryptocurrencies that will be in circulation when this halving takes place, which will lead to the price surge and everybody will be rushing to buy. So do you think in the event, okay, the halving drives up the price of Bitcoins, and do you think it could also discourage mainstream adoption due to the cryptocurrency becoming less affordable?
So I would agree to that on one end. And another end, I would say that is why you can break it down to the tiniest fraction. And that's what makes Bitcoin beautiful, if you ask me, right? So you can just we used to have 50 kobo, 1 kobo, 1 naira at some point as a nation. For whatever reason, we decided that we don't want to be spending, and it makes transaction a little bit tedious to some extent for some kind of businesses, yeah? So when last did you enter a supermarket to buy an item, your change was 50 kobo and someone was able to hand 50 kobo to you? I'm sure you probably will not remember when that was, yeah? So Bitcoin, you can have fractions of it. So if 1 Bitcoin is on the high side for an individual to buy, you can buy a tiny fraction of it, you can do what we call DCA, dollar cost averaging. If you choose that, it's a good investment for you. I mean, the inflation is around 2% as we speak. So someone may look at it and compare to another instrument for investment that inflation is about maybe 5% or even more, and decide that, okay, I want to go for this option. Now, you can begin to buy in fractions of it to keep. So I believe that helps anyone who feels, oh, okay, I think a Bitcoin is currently trading around $66,000 as we speak, 66,400 and something. It's been dancing around that for the last few hours. So you could buy a fraction of it. You could buy as low as $10 if that is what you have. You could buy as low as, again, this is where, excuse me, to speak to the conversations we've been having. So as a Nigerian in Nigeria, I'm supposed to be talking Naira and spending Naira. Or don't you agree with me? Right? But I'm having to talk dollar now. And this is why we really need to do something. I won't go to the US now and be talking about Naira or be spending dollar. So what we had on some of these exchanges before was that if I had 50 Naira, for instance, I could go on an exchange and buy a fraction of Bitcoin and keep it in the wallet. But now that is no longer the case. So I am now forced to find a way to access the currency that is acceptable, maybe in other countries, for me to be able to buy Bitcoin to save, or just to save, or to save as an instrument for investment.
Okay. Okay, since you actually mentioned figures, let's talk about the exact figures right now. Because most of the time when we pair up the value of a Bitcoin or any other digital currencies, most of the time is always in dollars. So now how much of Bitcoin's recent price surge can be attributed to anticipation of the halving and how much is due to other factors? Just even if you can give us a rough estimate.
So a lot of people had the high hopes that Bitcoin could hit, say, $100,000 per Bitcoin at the halving, right? But again, let's come back to the fundamentals of investing or fundamentals of economics, right? So if there is no demand, right? Or yeah, if there's no demand, you don't have need for supply, right? So, but if there is demand, there is need for supply. And if demand is high, but supply is minimal, if demand is high, but supply is minimal, prices are expected to go high, yeah? But for some reason, perhaps adoption is still low, or perhaps people have found a way around other cryptocurrencies that piques their interest, yeah? And again, cryptocurrencies are not expected to just go up in a linear graph. No, it also responds to market forces, to conditions, to people's psychology, how people perceive it and how people think about it. Some people may feel, I'm just tired of all these things, I don't want to hear it again. And they decide to just stay off. That's one person less adoption. But in a situation where you have more people adopting and coming on board, that means that supply would be gaining momentum and demand also will be there. But because we have a finite amount of Bitcoin that has ever been produced and most likely will ever be created, yeah? So by the time adoption increases to a certain level and supply increases to that level, the demand or the amount circulating may not adequately cater to that. So a price surge is expected when that scenario happens. Now, how much it can go, I really would not want to put a figure to that, because sometimes, and looking at the history of Bitcoin, Bitcoin can decide to go a 25% increase in hours, just few hours. It can also do the other one, the other part in hours, right? So which is why for every investor getting in, get educated and understand the risk. And if you notice, there's disclaimer on some of these exchanges that do not buy with the money that you cannot afford to lose, right? Because a lot of market forces can happen at the same time, and what you expect or what you speculate is not what is actually playing out.
Okay, well said, well said. Thank you for that, Oluwakemi. Okay, now before we round up the show, so beyond simple price appreciation, yes, you've explained the mathematics of this to us, how it works. Now, how will the halving impact the development and adoption of alternative cryptocurrencies with different economic models going forward?
So again, back to figures, like we just finished discussing. So Bitcoin may be beyond the reach of so many people. Understanding how even the Bitcoin itself benefits some people may also be beyond maybe what they desire to learn at the moment. Now, Bitcoin halving gives room and give way for other coins. We call them alternative coin. It gives room for alternative coins to quote and unquote shine, to say, oh, I'm also here. So we call Bitcoin king of coin, right? So Bitcoin halving, which sort of has impact on how many is being circulated per time, gives room for people to look at these other guys that are also in the market. And for those that are currently existing, that is not maybe of interest, of high interest to other people, or maybe it doesn't have as much features as is expected, it now also gives room for developers to come together and develop something different or something new, right? Or it could even be a blend of existing technologies, existing platforms to create something new. So definitely Bitcoin halving gives room for other currencies, right? Like I said, we call them alternative coins to shine. It calls people attention to them, because that is when they also now have time to show themselves that, yes, we're also here and we exist.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us on Market Insights this morning, Oluwakemi Adeyemo. It's been great having you on the program, and we look forward to having you again as you shed a lot of light on Bitcoin halving and also the crackdown from our financial institutions on cryptocurrencies in Nigeria. Thank you for explaining further to us, and we look forward to having you on the program again.
Thank you for having me, Linda. Thank you, Soup News.
Actually, it's Lavina.
Sorry, Lavina. Pardon me, please.
Okay. Okay, that was a great discussion with Oluwakemi Adeyemo. Now let's take a look at the money market figures this morning for the 24th of April. Let's see how the Naira is selling against the dollar and also against the pound sterling and the euro. So we're going to look at the Central Bank of Nigerian rates and the parallel market rates also. So for today, 24th April, the dollar at the CBN rates, for the dollar, it's 1,010 Naira to $1, and the parallel market rate is 1,275 Naira to $1. And that's a difference between the Central Bank of Nigeria rates and the parallel market rate of 265 Naira. And the pound sterling, at the CBN rate, pound sterling is 1,266 Naira, and the parallel market rate is 1,530 Naira to £1 sterling. So the difference between the parallel market rate and the CBN rate is 264 Naira. And the euro, it's 1,095 Naira to €1 at the CBN rate, and it's 1,320 Naira to €1 at the parallel market rate, and that's a difference of 225 Naira. So from these figures, we can see that the parallel market rates are always higher than the CBN rate. So that's our time this morning on Market Insights as we discuss these issues affecting our cryptocurrencies and other digital currencies with an expert, and she explained further a lot about what Bitcoin halving is and the reason why the prices keep surging, and also how our financial systems or financial securities in Nigeria should not put digital currencies under so much scrutiny. Thank you so much for watching Market Insights this morning, and we look forward to having another interesting discussion tomorrow. Do stay tuned to news updates on Souk News Television. I am Lavina Emma.